The desert wind carried the scent of creosote and a faint hum. Like an old song the land wasn't ready to forget. Daniel Rourke had spent 22 days in this relentless Arizona heat, drilling survey holes for a private energy firm that cared more about numbers than nature. He was tired, sunburned, and one wrong step from quitting the job he already hated. But on the 23rd day, everything changed. At dawn, Daniel's seismic reader flickered first a faint tremor, then a spike so sharp he thought the machine had malfunctioned. He recalibrated, wiped the sand off the screen, and checked again. A deep reservoir, a massive one, big enough to rewrite futures, fortunes, and maybe even the state map. He dug shallow test wells through the morning. The desert floor had been hiding a gold mine. The company would celebrate. His bosses would profit. His career would skyrocket. But something didn't feel right. As he walked back to the truck, he saw a figure sitting on a nearby ridge, an elderly woman in traditional Apache clothing, her silver hair braided, her eyes steady and sad. She had been watching him for an hour. "You found what you came for," she said. Her voice was calm, but her gaze weighed more than mountains. Daniel froze. I didn't see you there. "That is because you were not meant to," she pointed to the ground. "You found the bones of our mother." He swallowed, uneasy. "This land belongs to the state." It was leased legally. "Leased," she echoed, but never surrendered. He didn't know what to say. The woman walked toward him, her feet silent on the sand. 7 generations prayed to keep the water and soil here unbroken. "This place is old, sacred, a piece of the world where the earth breathes differently." She studied him carefully. "And now you must choose, money or belonging to something greater." Daniel felt the weight of the oil sample in his hand. The woman's gaze shifted to it, then back to him. "You do not strike me as a man who would wound a sleeping mother." Before he could speak, she walked away, disappearing behind a cluster of red boulders, as if the desert swallowed her whole. That night Daniel sat alone by his truck, unable to sleep, staring at the filled test canister. The oil inside glistened under the moonlight, beautiful, dangerous. Corporate protocol said he had to report it, but everything in his chest resisted. He remembered his father's words, "Some things you don't claim, some things you simply protect." The next morning, Daniel packed his equipment, wiped the GPS logs, buried every trace of his findings, and called his supervisor. "Nothing out here," he lied. "Zero, dead land, not worth drilling." They pulled him off the site within hours, and Daniel walked away still unsure why he felt oddly relieved, as though he'd made a promise he didn't yet understand. What he didn't know was that 7 years later, the desert would remember him, and so would the Apache tribe, in a way that defied belief. Daniel had left energy work, moved to Colorado, and opened a small repair shop, trying to forget both the desert and the decision that had silently shaped his adulthood. But sometimes late at night, he still saw the Apache woman's eyes and wondered if he'd protected something sacred or simply run away. One winter morning, as snow drifted past the shop windows, a black SUV pulled into his lot. 3 people stepped out, 2 men in suits and a woman dressed in modern Apache attire. Her presence carried the same gravity he remembered. "Daniel Rourke?" she asked. "That's me," he replied cautiously. Daniel's breath caught. "Is this about the survey site?" "In a way," she said softly. "Our elders told us what you chose to do, and now we need you." They asked him to sit. The men in suits said nothing. They were tribal legal representatives. Alyssa explained everything. 7 years ago, developers had once again attempted to lease a portion of White Mesa land, but when they conducted seismic scans, they registered nothing because Daniel had erased every trace of the reservoir's location. "You gave us time," she said. "Time to buy back the land previously taken. Time to build our sovereignty. Time to fight the legal battles we needed." Daniel blinked, stunned. "All I did was walk away." "No," Alyssa said firmly. "You listened. Most men in your position would have taken everything. You chose silence, and you protected our mother's bones." Daniel didn't know what to say. The room felt warm, heavy, ceremonial. Alyssa opened a leather-bound case. Inside was a deed, sealed with tribal insignia. "We returned to the site this year," she whispered, "and what we found was unbelievable. She slid a photograph across the table. Daniel leaned in and froze. The test well site he had dug 7 years ago, the tiny depression in the sand, was now a thriving oasis. Water surged from a natural artesian spring, ringed with cottonwoods and vibrant wildlife. The tribe believed the land had healed itself. More than that, they believed the land had rewarded restraint. The elders say the earth remembers kindness, Alyssa said. We do too. She handed him a second document, a ceremonial grant of honorary tribal stewardship, a title rarely bestowed outside the Apache nation. You are not one of us by blood, Alyssa said, but by choice. You protected what was sacred, and now we offer you a place in its story. Daniel felt the air leave his lungs. I don't deserve this. Perhaps, she replied, but the land thinks you do. He looked at the photograph again, water shimmering in the sun, life bursting from a place once dry and quiet. Somehow, impossibly, nature had answered. Alyssa placed her hand gently over his. We want you to come with us, to return, to see what your decision gave birth to. Emotion swelled in Daniel's throat. He nodded, unable to speak. 2 weeks later, he stood at the edge of the rejuvenated oasis, humbled by the miracle unfolding before him. The Apache elders welcomed him with traditional blessing smoke, songs, and a ceremony older than memory itself. The elderly woman he had met 7 years earlier was there, her hair still silver, her eyes still carrying the weight of mountains. You chose well, she murmured. Daniel bowed his head. I only listened. That, she said, is the rarest choice a man can make. He had come to the desert searching for oil, but what he found was belonging.